Hey gang, welcome. Let me get my monitor up and running here. And let's bring our Facebook friends in. I'm getting, forgive me, you don't need to hear all my problems, but I'm getting a number of dialogue messages from Facebook that I've never gotten before, which culminate in stream failed. So I'm afraid I'm not broadcasting on Facebook. All right, so YouTube it is. Hello friends, thank you for joining me. My name is Dan. This is Daily Adventure number 968, phase 7 on these 20 abstract paintings. Switching to oil. Everything on the canvas is acrylics. I look at it and say, which way do I want to shift it? This one's easy. I just want it, as is the case with many of them, I just want it slightly warmer. So I've got a hodgepodge of different colors on my brush. Oxide red, which is a brown, of course. Don't let the words confuse you. Oxide red is a reddish brown, or more precisely, actually, an orangish brown, rust brown. I mentioned yesterday that I had debated as I've gone along. I thought, well, they look pretty good. They look pretty good just as acrylic paintings. Maybe I should just finish them in acrylics. And I also said, yeah, my experience is once I put that first layer of oil glaze on it, I go, oh man, that's so much better. Okay, so you want to know what I'm doing right now? I'm going, oh man, that's so much better. Just as I remembered. I described it yesterday. I don't think I've ever used this language before. No matter how pretty, so to speak, how nice acrylic colors can be, at the end of the day, acrylic is plastic, and the colors just have a plasticish feeling about them. And that could be all in my head. That's very possible, but I don't think that's what's happening. I think my eyes see something different, and my guess is even you will see something different. Now, we have bad glare here. Let me raise you up a little bit higher and have you look down even more, just in an attempt to diminish the deep glaze as much as possible. There, maybe that's better. There we go. I have, as you can see here, maybe a whole assortment of brushes. I'm working again with a butcher tray for a palette, because it's smooth and large. Right, on this brush I have mostly a reddish color, that being permanent rose. I love the feel of permanent rose when it's rendered transparent. Just one of my absolute favorite. Most of the time, maybe all of the time, when I do this oil glaze, and by the way, I'm fairly OCD. I try to draw the line at D, but I'm pretty obsessive about getting a glaze over the entire canvas, so to speak. I don't want some part of the painting to be bare naked acrylic, partly because, and again, this is me being more fussy than I need to be probably, but partly because I want to be able to call it an oil painting, because it's all covered with oil, even though, as you know, most of the work, especially on these paintings. Now, let me finish that sentence. Most of the work, as you know, was done in acrylics. Now, in my normal representational painting, more than half the work is done in oil. So that's a little difference between these paintings and my. So maybe I should call these, I don't know what, you know what I mean? Acrylic. On my website, do they call it oil? I'm not really sure. All right, so there I have done warm over everything here, red here and here, a little bit of blue down there, and then I'm going to lift out some areas. So go back to light. Now please understand, when I say lift out, I do not mean to infer at all that I'm lifting out everything. Because then someone would say, well, if you're just going to take it off, why'd you put it on? For some reason, that voice always comes to me, as you can hear, in a nasty, I don't know why, forgive me, some of my issues showing up, I'm sure. So I don't know if you can remember what that looked like 5 minutes ago, but if you can, you easily see the difference, and you understand then why I'm bonkers about doing doing oil on top of, especially the oil glaze. I'm so crazy about that. I just wiped off some of the blue there to make that blue pop. All right. Now the theory, I could be done again. It could be finished with this painting. What I'm planning to do is, I'm going to set this aside, but in the next layer, phase 8, that would be, I would do dark details. Now, and you could say, well, where? And the answer is, I don't know. Anywhere I feel like it. Anywhere I could do dark areas, dark zones. Like I might decide that this whole area needs to be darker. It's already dark, maybe. Or I might decide I need to do some dark details. I don't know. Yeah, every painting will be different, of course. And then the final layer would be light, opaque highlights, just as what I call the final edit in my representational stuff. But both of those steps would be minimal, very, very little change. Okay, unlike my representational paintings. Let me turn you around just so you can see. And by the way, somebody asked me yesterday if they could start bidding. The answer is absolutely. Every painting always has a number on it. This is the back side of number 3. So you get 2 paintings for the price of 1. And at the moment, I'm not suggesting an opening bid. Of course, there is a reserve, like eBay style. And I'm also debating whether to make that reserve, there's a certain price I won't sell it for less than. And at the moment, I'm just going to leave that. No, you bid whatever you want. You can bid 25 cents. You can bid a penny if you want to. I guarantee that's not the reserve price. You can bid $100, and you probably still won't get it, probably. So I'm tipping my hand a little bit. Let me go ahead and show you. Since this is painting number 3, I have right behind me here, I have paintings number 1 and 2. Whoops. here's painting number 1, and somehow the number got turned upside down. So. Okay, there's painting number 1. This is one that I wasn't that happy about a couple of layers ago, but I'm quite happy with it now. There's the front of one, and here's the back. So if you buy this painting, you get a red painting on one side, red, orange, brown, red, yellow on one side, and green on the other. So if you want to, you can turn it around to the green side for Christmas time or whatever. But again, my thinking is this is the main painting. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with all these, by the way. I'm really getting happy with all of them. And here's number 2. All right, so feel free to, I will take good pictures of these and post them all on my YouTube community page. Now, quick word to you iPhone people. No. iPad. To you iPad people, for some reason, strange reason, iPad does not allow you to see the community page on YouTube. At least I hope they've said they're going to fix it, but I don't know if they have or not. Anyway, there's number 2. I like that one quite a lot. And here's the backside of number 2. Blue cosmic with a vertical here and a horizontal down there. And then a whole bunch of other stuff. All right, so that's number 2. Now give me a minute to get these out of the way. It is, I'm out here, I'm in my garage because I'm going to be painting a lot of liquid, and it would be quite strong if I were to be working inside. Okay, let me show you now. Here's, so you can kind of see the difference. Let me show you painting number 4 that's only acrylics. And in contrast to that, show you painting number 3. Now, it's a different color palette, but the depth of color, this is going to be probably glazed, probably in cool, not warm. But what the, hello, oh, are you here to do cockroaches?
The roaches in the garage.
Uh-oh, am I in your way?
I think I can work around.
Can you?
Am I
Okay.
gonna be okay?
Yep.
Quick question for you. You okay with me throwing a couple of these glue boards at the entrances?
Yes.
Kind of catches a lot of.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Are you an artist?
I am. Normally I do representational stuff, but this week I'm doing a series of 20 abstract paintings. Yep.
This is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. Cool. All right, so I have to change a bunch of brushes. Pick up a number of brushes. Now here's the process. I described this yesterday. I'll repeat it again today. You put your chin on your hand. That's optional. But you say, I like it pretty much. That is not optional. I like it pretty much. I just wish it was more blank. And the blank is a color. And by the way, one of my peculiar favorite tricks is to shift a painting like this it's decidedly cool at the moment, right? One of my favorite tricks is to shift it warm with the glaze. But I'm not going to do that on this one. That will happen here probably on one of these, but it's not going to happen on this one. I'm going to keep this as a cool painting. So it's very possible that the painting will appeal to somebody because it's cool. It will not appeal to somebody else because it's cool. That's just the way it goes. Cool, of course, essentially means blue. I happen to have a little bit of ultramarine and a little bit of phthalo, which means the color I'm putting on is pretty much straight up the middle blue. It's neither warm nor cool, it's right up the middle. I thought about that. I said, do I want a warm cool or a cool cool? And I decided I want it right in the middle blue, right in the middle blue. Phthalo is a warm blue, ultramarine is a cool blue. I've given that lecture so many times, I don't have the energy to do it again right this minute, so we'll just leave it at that. Let me just repeat it. Ultramarine is a purplish blue, even though it has red in it. How can you say it's cool if it's got red in it? The question comes down to both yellow and red are warm, correct? And then the next question is, are they equally red? Now, there's a whole bunch of yellows, a whole range of yellows, and a whole range of reds, but if you just take smack dab in the middle of the red spectrum and smack dab in the middle of the yellow spectrum, are they equally warm cool? And my answer is no, they are not. The yellow is slightly, again, smack dab in the middle of the yellow spectrum, yellow is slightly warmer than red. Now there are, again, I'm getting too deep already. I didn't want to give this lecture, but here I am giving it. There are warm reds and cool reds. There are warm yellows and cool yellows. So a cool yellow is much colder than a warm red. So don't be confused. Not all reds and all yellows, but generally speaking. Okay, here's the way to do it. Yellow orange, in my humble opinion, yellow orange is the warmest color. Now, if you're a physics student, a physics professor, please understand that you and I live in a completely different world, and you have a different color temperature completely because you're a weird physicist. Okay, so please understand that the artists are not talking. I had a physics student try to correct me on that several years ago, and I looked into it and said, well, that's because he's thinking like a physics person. That's visually is how artists think, not molecules and photons and all that kind of stuff, or we're thinking just visually. Anyway, so yellow orange is the warmest color, therefore any color that's close to yellow orange is warm. Any close color that's farther from yellow orange is cool. So that's why I say that phthalo blue is a warm blue because it's closer to yellow orange. Ultramarine blue is a purple blue, and therefore it's cool. I know. See, I ended up giving that whole lecture whether I wanted to or not. Now, one of the things that I'm doing with the oil glaze is I am consolidating my composition. I'm firming up. I'm making my composition a little bit more obvious. Let me explain what I mean by that. First of all, understand. So now I'm wiping stuff off with a rag to make it lighter. I'm not wiping it all off, just some of it. One of the fun parts about doing this technique of putting paint on and taking it off is that it allows you to be an absolute control freak with regard to color and value, without the issues, the weaknesses that normally are attendant with being a control freak painter. Okay, so I get exquisite control without the problems that usually come with doing exquisite control. So I love it. The harder I wipe, the more lighter it gets, the more paint comes off, right? All right, so let me describe again what I mean when I say in the glaze layer, I'm confirming or consolidating my composition. Okay, real quick. The concept of composition can almost be thought of as a subset of values. Lights, darks, lights, darks, lights, darks, values, light, dark, value, light, dark. Composition has to do with the major, not the tiny stuff, the major light, dark zones of your painting. If you want to be a little fancier, you can go 3 steps. Composition refers to the light, dark, and medium zones of your painting. I had to say that for this painting because, all right, this painting now has one and only one light zone. It's right there. Everything else is medium and or dark. If you call this medium, which I would, because it's all relative according to the overall palette. There's nothing really dark in this particular painting. Now, I may change that when I come back, but at the moment I'm saying it right out loud, and then at the very moment that I'm saying it, I'm going, nah, I want to make this darker. Darker blue and darker purple. right, so let me go back. Composition refers primarily to the major light and dark zones of your painting. And a good composition usually means that the major light and dark zones of your painting can be described in essentially one word, okay? Either the light or dark zones. Okay, so in this case, the light zone is a center mass. That's Edgar Payne language. Or the light zone, you could perhaps see it as a shaft. A lot of these paintings are shafts of light. If you don't like that, you could say, well, the dark zone is a U. Right? That's the idea. And I'm done with this now. By the way, let me point out that one of the fun things that happens when you do this oil glaze. Look at this area right here. I'm just going to pick this up and try to let you see it up close. Oh, oh. There, do you see that? You see, there was impasto. There was thick acrylic paint on that part of the painting, and when I rubbed an oil glaze into it, the oil glaze got stuck in the cracks of the impasto. Does that make sense? I'm sure it does. I'm insulting you by asking such a thing. Right, now, very green painting, eh? No? Very green painting. The question is, do I want to keep it green? And my answer is, this time, by the way, I'm discovering, I've never let this happen. I'm afraid I'm going to run out of liquid before I finish all 20 paintings. I'll go as far as I can. I went all over the place and found 3 partial bottles. All right. Finger on chin. I like it pretty much. I just wish it was less green. So I have on my brush here a reddish brown. Of course, oxide red is a reddish brown, but I'm actually adding a tiny bit of, well, let me go ahead and do it with this brush. I'm adding a tiny bit of permanent rose to it. Now you understand, I'm sure, that everything on the canvas up until this moment, everything on this panel was dry and dry acrylic. Therefore, and it's impervious to the oil paint, it's impervious to rubbing and so on. So if I do something I don't like, for instance, let's say that after I get a couple minutes into this anti-greenifying, I'm making this painting less green by adding reddish brown to it. If I decide I don't like it, then of course, what do? Take a rag and wipe it off. Of course, no problem, right? So that's part of the reason, again, in my representational work, or when I'm teaching representational painting, I'm a huge advocate for glazing. After your painting is dry, whether it's oil or acrylic, after your painting is dry, do glazes. You're undergirded by such a massive safety net. The safety net being, if you don't like it, you can wipe it all off. Right? I just picked up a brush that has a little bit of ultramarine blue on it, so I'm not anti-greening the bottom section. Letting that stay a little more green. I'm going to step back here in a moment and look at that. It's okay. I'm going to pick up some Indian yellow. and enliven some of the green up here in this area. Is that making sense to you? I hope it is. I don't like the brush strokes that I just put on there, so I've got a brush here that I want to get somewhat clean. And I'm going to use this just as a mop, the way you use possibly a traditional mop, which is to get rid of brush strokes, just to smooth out the paint that's there, all right? And then, of course, I will be taking a rag here in a few minutes. I like that pretty much. Although I'm going to do some phthalo blue up here for some reason. Very intuitive, all of this, right? You can't come up with a logical, why do you want it bluer? I don't know. My eye says, oh, it needs to be bluer. There's no cookbook for this stuff. And then same brush that I used a while ago to blend. Yeah, so it's darker and blue. I like that better. I like that corner better now that it's darker and bluer again. Right, now let's see what happens when I pick up a rag and very gently begin wiping stuff out. So wherever I take off the brownish paint, of course, it's going to go back to a more intense green, right? So that's the game that I'm playing right now. So where do I want it? And the more I rub, the harder I rub, and so on and so forth, the more paint comes off. So again, I get to be just a massive control freak. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like it. I'm going to remove a bunch of this down here. Now, one question somebody might have is, could you come in here with a tiny, tiny little pointy rag or brush and lift paint off? The answer is, of course. Most of the time I don't do that, because most of the time I'm doing a soft edge effect with my wiping. It's sort of like an airbrush effect. Speaking of airbrush, do you remember yesterday one of the last things I did on all these paintings was I hit little bits of with white airbrush. I don't think this is the only painting I think I did, so I picked a bad moment to bring this up. But you'll see that when you do a glaze on top of that airbrush, it stops looking like real airbrush. It starts looking like paint again, but with soft edge. Never mind. I'll show it to you when it comes to it on the next painting. I shouldn't have brought it up right at this second. This being, I think, the only painting that I didn't do any airbrushing on. Okay, can you see so the light area here is popping. Now, I've got a weakness. I've got what I call a donut. The focal part of this painting is right here, but it's too much right here. I just dragged some of the light off here to go off the canvas. I'm going to do the same thing down here. It's almost like whatever object, I've never used this language, whatever object is in the middle of your painting, the object, so to speak, the square, the building, the flower, the face, whatever it may be, you want some visual part of that object. Now, I don't mean that you're supposed to drag an ear, no, but some color, something that's connected to the face needs to go off the canvas to escape, to avoid the donut hole effect. Okay? 'Cause generally speaking, you don't want a donut hole on your painting. All right, so I think that's good. Yeah, nice color, less green overall. Still green in light right here. And see, the light area goes off there, goes off all four sides actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. very subtly down here. Figure out. Anyway, that's enough. That's number 5. Did I show you the back of number 5? So again, you feel free to place a bid. You place a bid, by either leading a chat right now or leading a comment when my broadcast is over. Either one. Hello, Snoozer and Stein, Matt, Sid, the Myth, Sharon, Brenda, Radina, Matt, Travis, Radina, Pink, Hayes, Pie, Ms. Pink, Ms. Pink, Brenda, Radina. Good. Thank you all for chatting with me here. I didn't read any of your comments. I just read your names. By the way, that's right. I know that was rude. Let me give you another safety tip. Somebody told me 100 years ago in my painting career, the most dangerous part of the oil painting experience, where we are in most hazard of topical poisons, is right here. So you see me wiping off oil paint with this rag. I'm getting liquid on my fingers and whatever else. So one solution is to have some kind of wipe, baby wipes or studio wipes in this case, just to get that stuff off your hands, whether it's toxic or not. I suspect that of all the things I'm using out here, that actually the liquid is the most toxic. I don't have any cobalts or cadmium paints. I don't think I have any toxic pigments at all on my palette. But the liquid itself doesn't smell very healthy to me. All right, this one is obvious to me. I like it quite a bit. I just wish it was warmer. Piece of cake. Do probably the most common initial glaze you'll find here today is a combination of oxide red and other things. Like in this case, I have something called, it's made by Michael Harding, transparent yellow oxide, pigment number 42. Yep. So it's just a little bit yellower than straight up oxide red. I'm going to add some more yellow to that. I want some Indian yellow. Whoa, whoa. A little Indian yellow goes a long way, by the way. By the way, I'm using liquid, of course. And you could see how thin my layer of liquid is, my layer of paint, my layer of glaze. This will be dry within an hour, easily. Maybe out here in the, I don't know if the hot weather is making it faster or slower. Certainly cold weather would make it slower, but I don't know. The heat index out here today is over 90 degrees, so if it looks to you like I'm sweating, that's because I'm sweating. All right, I don't need to do that corner down there because that would just be a waste of paint and glaze. Instead, I'm going to pick up my bluish brush. It has ultramarine blue on it, and I want this corner darker and bluer. I don't think I showed you the back of this painting, did I? Once again, anybody just joining. Now, if you live outside the United States, we will have to have a special conversation about how much shipping would cost. The good news about painting on gator board, it's very lightweight, but it's still pretty large dimensions. So I don't know how much it will cost. I think I might have sent one of these. I sent some painting to Norway a couple years ago. And I think the shipping cost was somewhere around $200. So those of you who are watching from outside the United States, you might have to add that to your bid. The rest of you, you'll see how it goes. It will probably be something like, I'll say, if your bid is over $250, then I'll do free shipping or something like that. If it's under that, I may add, and we'll discuss this. I won't send you a surprise, okay? So you'll have to decide whether you want to. And forgive me that I haven't figured out all the details yet. This painting is clearly, as are many in this series, I'm a little embarrassed, quote unquote. I'm a little embarrassed that so many of this series of paintings, that they're so similar. So many of them have this major shaft of light and then a bunch of scribbly detail. A lot of them have this secondary shape of an arc or an arch also. Okay, so I admit that I'm somewhat embarrassed. Now I'll back off that a little bit and say, yeah, but I'm not really too embarrassed. This seems to be what happens most often when I do these assembly line abstract paintings. And even though these have a strong commonality between them, they stand out in contrast to many of my other abstract paintings, which, if you want to see my other abstract paintings, many of which are still available for sale, by the way, you can place a bid on one of those. My other abstract paintings are at dannelsonart.com. Click on the paintings page and then click on the abstract and just toggle through. All right, so there's number 6. That's pretty. And again, it should be prettier even. Isn't that a wonderful word? A real artist would never be caught dead using the word pretty. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if you know this or not. You should know this. That is the word that the art establishment, the people I'm usually railing against, that's the word they use to insult people who do beautiful paintings or representational paintings. All right, here's number, as they say, pretty. And they use that, never mind. Here's number 7. I was going to say they do that so that the rest of the population doesn't realize that the artist has just been massively insulted. Because they could shrug their shoulders, raise their eyebrows, say, what? I just said it was pretty. And the non-artists go, yeah, what's wrong with that? And the artists go, you have no idea. That's the word. They're doing it on purpose. All right, I have to decide whether I want this to go in the middle, to go warm. And I think I do. So I'm going to keep the same color on my brush here. I think I want it warmer here in the middle. I'm going to yellow that up with a tiny bit of Indian yellow. Oh, a little Indian yellow goes a long way. It's such powerful stuff, but I like that better. It's a better color. Okay, then I think much of the rest of the painting, I'll actually continue in a greenish vein. Right now, I'm in effect making the green out here even greener, including this shaft plate right there. Yeah, that looks nice. More intense. Another word for that would be more intense green. I'm not sure which green I'm using here. I think it's a Richardson phthalo green yellow shade, I think. Doesn't, I am so not, I don't care about what color green. The reason is because I virtually never use a green paint straight out of the tube. Virtually never. It's always mixed with generous, usually, doses of something else. That's why I don't really have strong opinions about what color green paint you should buy. I have opinions about everything else, all the other colors, but no opinions about green. Isn't that funny? Maybe when I grow up someday and become a better painter, I will care. But evidently, I'm not that grown up yet. I just don't care. Any old green will do. Any old green will do because you're going to mix it with a whole bunch of other stuff. It's the way I feel about it. And as I said, maybe someday I'll be a better artist and look back in these days and slap my head and say, what was I thinking? Everybody should have a chromium oxide green. And I do, by the way, understand some about green colors. And since I just mentioned chromium oxide, that is the classic color. If you want to do verdigris underpainting, the greenish gray underpainting like William Bouguereau, chromium oxide is your color. Chromium oxide is one of the most permanent, light fast, should last 2,000 years. But who's counting? Chromium oxide green is extremely stable. It's quite a dull green generally, like army green, not very high chroma. And it's very opaque. Okay, here's what I'm thinking about this now. I'm going to add, I'm eating up some of the stuff that I put down originally that was warm. I'm now cooling it down with green, finding I didn't like it. I didn't like it being quite that yellow. So there we go. Okay, now to lift out and make stuff lighter. Whoa. See, it's quite a bit lighter now. It's surprising. Yeah, that's nice. Now I think on this particular painting, I'm going to do what I talked about a minute ago. Get a fairly sharp point on my rag, and there I just lifted out. It was green on top of blue. I removed the green, so now it's quite an intense blue. Same thing. I think this shaft right here was a nice lavender or straight up purple, maybe. Yeah, that's nice. Same thing here. So you can do precision removal if you want. Precision glaze removal. That's what it says on my Yellow Pages ad. Just kidding. Remember Yellow Pages ads? Remember Yellow Pages? Wow. That was a day, wasn't it? Back in the day, as they say. I think I'm going to do some lightening. Oh, not much effect down there. All right. The letter V, huh? A little bit like, did I show you the back of this one? A little bit like Sesame Street. Letter V. All right, I think I did show you. There's the back of number 7. So, as I said, in the comments, either after the video's over or in the live chats, I'll start looking now for people who have placed a bid. You can say I bid $25. You can say I bid $250 or $500 or $1,000. Heck. Seem to be having a hard time with our Facebook page, but we're on to number 8. I'm finding myself really drawn to the paintings that are multicolored, have a more balanced color spectrum going on. All right, let me look and see at some of your. Oh, you guys are chatting up a storm. I appreciate it. I know, Brenda, it's terrible how late I paint in the day, isn't it, for you? Hello, Travis. After I finish all these, I'll post them all on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook page. Looking at some of your chats. Give me a second here. Oh, funny guys. You guys are funny. All right. What color do I want to do this? Oh, by the way, another function served by the glaze is it can be used to unify the palette. Of course, that's just the way artists talk. When they say unified palette, they don't mean the palette, which is down there. They mean the colors on the canvas. And I think I'm going to do that on this painting because it's kind of, I said I like the multicolor, but I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to take an educated guess here. And I'm going to say that I think bluing pretty much this whole painting will help unify it. Okay? And my brush is dirty. It's got an assortment of blues on it. But I'm going to pick up just phthalo blue. So it'll be quite an intense blue. And if I do want to unify the painting, then I'll probably, of course, start by doing blue over the entire thing. And of course, at that point, I can change my mind. All I will have wasted is some of my precious liquid, which is getting pretty precious. I may have to interrupt my broadcast here in a little while and put out a serious search for more liquid. I don't think I usually have backup to my backup to my backup. But here in the coronavirus season, I'm making far fewer trips to the art store than I used to. So maybe I discovered yesterday that I'm also getting really low on my acrylic medium too. So I guess it kind of makes sense, and I'm running out of both. But it's my job to paint, so I'm usually like I said, I'm usually the kind of guy. I've got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 6 deep redundant. If I have to, I can go up to my shed and break into my. No, I just realized I've got some in a cabinet right here. All I have to do is dig down. So I'm out in my garage. I don't know if I told you that yet. I'm assuming you can figure that out. I've got some big, beautiful, old, large paintings over there to my right. I'm doing purple now on the same brush to darken this corner. Same thing down here. Let's get that corner darker. In the world of transparent colors, if glazing is new to you, then you'll need to learn a few rules about glazing. It's different than opaque painting or color mixing on your palette, right? All the rules you learn for mixing opaque colors on your palette. If you switch and do as I do, which is mix most of your colors, not by mixing colors on your palette, but by doing layers of transparent color on your painting, some of the rules are different. One I was going to say is that in the world of transparents, purple is your darkest color. One of the most crazy idiosyncrasies about transparent painting is there's no such thing as a transparent red. There's no such thing as a transparent red. If you take red and go transparent, it turns into my favorite, that's a joke, my least favorite color, sickly bubblegum pink. And it doesn't speak to your eye. It doesn't, if you take red and make it transparent with liquid, say, your brain doesn't say, oh, red. No, your brain says, oh, pink, right? So if you want your brain to say, hang on a second, I'm going to switch now to a little bit of permanent rose. It is red. If you want your brain to see it as red, like what I'm doing right now, your brain interprets that as red, you go to magenta. That is to say a cool red, purplish red. You'll have a hard time, by the way, placing magenta on your high school art class color wheel. I dare you. It's not exactly there. The color wheel that we play with, that we teach at the elementary levels, is not, strictly speaking, accurate. If you've ever wondered, where's magenta on that color wheel? It's on a different layer. That's another story. It's on a different layer slice of the wheel. All right, so there, the painting is definitely more cohesed, more hanging together, but it's also much darker, and I don't want it quite that dark. So let's start lifting out some little by little. Ooh, that's kind of nice. I like that. See, so everything now has a blue, slight blue cast over it, except the parts that are reddish blue that I did purple down here. But even that has, of course, has blue in it because it's purplish. So I've unified the overall cast of the painting. If I don't like the marks that I left with the rag, if I left some streaks, sometimes I'll pick up the brush, a brush, and blend it again. That's what I was just doing just a moment ago there. There we go, that's nice. It's funny, that made a real difference, just lifting up that green. There was too much energy up here and not enough down here, and I just increased some of the energy here by wiping off the glaze that was on that green, bringing that green, making it pop a little bit, and it suddenly helped the painting. And I think it was because it pulled some energy down toward the bottom of the canvas, so to speak, canvas. Yeah, same there. All right, I think that's nice. Did I show you the back of number 8? So that's number 8. Here's the back. Good purplish, brownish, orangish outer space cosmic scene. I hope it doesn't rain for a while. I'm stacking a whole bunch of paintings out there at the front entrance to my garage where they would get rained on quite readily. You hear me peeling off one painting off another. They're all stacked up. I don't like that feeling. All right, this one is real obvious to me. This one is asking for more warmth, so oxide red and a little bit of Indian yellow. That's probably the most common combination of colors that I do. Oxide red and Indian yellow to get just a beautiful orange brown, yellow orange brown. Again, if you can remember what this painting looked like, and then look at it afresh in a few minutes, I think you'll agree with me that the oil glaze is worth it. It's already worth it to me, just looking at it just that much. I mentioned a while ago that I did some airbrushing. One of the last things I did yesterday on each of these panels was some white airbrush on these light areas, and it admittedly looked a little bit out of place or artificial because there was no, it was the only part of the painting that was airbrushed. But it's amazing when, and I kind of knew this, when I do a glaze on top of those little bits of airbrush, all of a sudden now they have brush strokes on them, so they fit in with the rest of the painting. Nice little trick. And again, I mentioned a while ago that one of the functions, I should make a list. What are the functions? What am I accomplishing by glazing, particular glazing in oil? Number one, more intense color, deeper color, richer color. All those words are appropriate. Number two, I am affirming, reconfirming, solidifying, any of those words, the composition. What I mean is what I'm about to start doing now. I'm about to start making the corners, in this case, the darker parts of the painting darker. Therefore, the distinction between the light part of the paintings and the dark part of the paintings will be more extreme. The contrast between dark and light will be more contrasty. Sorry for the redundancy there. All right, the painting will be more contrasty. Which means the composition of the painting is firmed up. If it is a pleasing composition, it should become slightly more pleasing because the dark is getting darker and the light's getting lighter, right? And I think that's clearly happening on this painting, and will be even more so in a minute when I lift out the light areas with a rag. Okay, so two functions. What are the functions that are being accomplished by doing glazing? Number one, the colors are more intense. Number two, the composition is confirmed. Number three, if necessary, the palette, and I guess it really probably has this effect all the time, the palette is unified. And again, when an artist talks about the palette, he's not talking about the physical palette, he's talking about the overall cast of colors on his painting. The color palette is the way it's usually referred. And so those are three functions that come to mind: more intense color, confirmed composition, unified palette. And there are probably some others. Oh, I know. Yeah, no, I'm missing a huge one. Yeah. Color shift. So that's with reference to when I say you have to put your hand on your chin and you say, I like it pretty much, I just wish it was more blank. Okay, that refers to color shift. And in this case, I like it pretty much, I just wish it was warmer. Or I could say, I wish it was more yellow-orange. Same thing. Got it? So those are 4 functions I think we're up to now. Intensified color, confirmed composition, unified color, and color shift to whichever direction you want. In other words, it's like you have the last word. It's nice to have the last word about a painting, right? That's supposed to be the idea. You're the artist. You're supposed to be in charge. I just did some more precise wiping right here in these yellow areas. Yesterday when I did this painting, I got off into a conversation about how I don't like the color yellow, the intense. I tend not to use it. And then but I confess that as a weakness. That's not a characteristic of my artwork. That's a weakness of my artwork. And I'm glad, because this intense yellow right here is beautiful. Really nice. I like this one. And the composition, whatever shape you call that. It's again, mostly a shaft, but it's got a strong horizontal element. This was, in fact, the letter M. Remember, doesn't matter. Again, it's not my goal that the final letter, that the letter be visible in the end, but it was the letter M that got me started on this particular painting. And did I show you the front of this one? I mean the back, not the front. That is the front. There we go. All right, so there's the back of number 9. Let me confess to you all, by the way, the idea is for you to place bids. What happens if nobody or almost nobody places any bids? Well, then I'm going to have 20 two-sided abstract. Beautiful. See, that's my job. What is my number one concern now is not that I sell these paintings. That's, of course, financially, that's a pretty significant concern. No, my number one concern is that I do absolutely the best abstract paintings I can possibly do. Make sense? Yeah, I know you know that, but I just want to, that's my goal. So if they don't sell, what do? I add them to my stack of, my ever-growing stack of killer paintings that will sell someday, even if it's my grandchildren selling them to pay for their college. That's pretty optimistic, isn't it? Once again, I like it very well. Let me point out a little bit of an unusual composition here because the energy on this particular painting is quite high here and here. This is close to 1/3, but it's joined by this, so well, here's halfway, so there's almost a horizon in the middle, which would be uncomfortable. Let me tell you about composition 101. Number 1, learn the law of thirds. Number 1, learn the law of thirds. And when I say learn it, I don't mean learn it so that you can get the answer right on a test. That's not learning. What I mean is internalize. Maybe I should use that word. Number 1, internalize the law of thirds, so that it becomes second nature to you. You don't have anybody nobody ever has to remind you, because it's just there. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, this is composition 101. This is 9th grade art class. Okay. Number 2, learn the law of thirds. Number 2, tweak it, twist it, bend it, push it. Don't lock in to the law of thirds. Do not lock in. Learn it and then dump it is sort of what I'm saying. No, that's an exaggeration. Learn it and then push it. And that's what I think I'm doing here. Now, of course, how far do you push it? And someone might say, I think you pushed it too far. I don't. And by the way, if I get to the final layer of the oil stage of this painting, if I feel like I pushed it and I pushed it too far, all I need to do is add a little more energy, any kind of energy down it, lines, linear energy, color, values, edges, anything down here, and it will pull the composition down. All right. Now I don't think I'm going to have to do. I did that yesterday, by the way, already. Okay, I'm going to do the bottom part of this painting with blue. So ultramarine. So in a way, you could say, again, I'm pushing or exaggerating or reconfirming the composition of this painting. It was light and warm, cool and dark. And I'm exaggerating, I'm making it even more so, right? Because I did warm up here, and now I'm doing cool down here. By the way, I'm cheating on you a little bit. So let me get a little bit deeper into this issue of composition. Usually, for sake of simplicity, I say that composition has to do with the major light and dark areas of your painting, and that is true. But color is a distant second, not up close. By the way, I had a wonderful art teacher many years ago, made a statement that stuck with me forever. It's really good. He says, color gets the credit. Oh, no, let me say it the other way. Values do the work, color gets the credit. In other words, 99% of the time, that's not a scientific number, that's just a, teacher number. 99% of the time, somebody walks up to a painting and says, "Oh, look at that color." Okay? That's what they think. That's what the viewer thinks is impacting them. But if the artist has done their work well, the viewer thinks that it is color that they're impressed by. What they're actually impressed by is values. So the statement is, looking for my purple-ish brush. The statement again is, values do the work, color gets the credit. So, but the color does have a slight impact on composition, and that's what I was making reference to here on this particular painting. The color is entering into the composition a little bit. It's mostly dark light, but it's also slightly warm cool. All right, now ragtime again. Isn't that a kind of music? These statements over here, Radina. You guys just all talking to each other, aren't you? Yes, Uncle, that's a good observation. Good Uncle makes the observation that abstract painting entails the ultimate in broken color. Good observation. Yes. Correct. Sometimes I don't like the texture that the rag makes. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. So that's why I'm using a brush right now, just to diminish the rag texture. All right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do some precise lifting out right now. Remember I mentioned a minute ago, if there's too much energy up here, then I increase it down here. And that's what I'm doing by lifting out, doing some precision. Helps, it's more precise if the canvas holds still. Some precision lifting out. As you can see, I'm having a hard time because I want to run my rag right off the bottom of the canvas. So I'm increasing some light details down here, which of course just increases the level of energy down here just a little bit. Because right now it's a little top heavy. I'll do the same thing right here. I'm just going to lift out some of this, expose that purple, and I don't like that texture at all, so go back to a brush for a minute just to feather it. There we go. It's a nice mark. That's a nice mark. There we go. Are you seeing it now? And when I come to the last two layers on these paintings, I haven't said this for a few minutes, I have ostensibly, supposedly, 2 more steps to go on each of these paintings. The next layer, the next phase will be dark details in oil, transparent oil, dark details, and then finally light opaque highlights. But those will both be quite minimal. That's why I'm saying it's safe to go ahead and bid on these. These are 99% finished. For instance, I love this intense orange red up here, but I think there's a hint of orange red down here, and I think that might be one of the things I would do on this painting. And pull a little more energy down here and insert a pop of that color down here. But I'm not going to do that now. If it's a good idea, I'll remember it, I think, when I come back to number 10 later on. You know what? I'm halfway through my oil glazing phase. That one's interesting. It doesn't sound very confident, does it? Let's see if I can fix it, okay? And once again, I am going to do my most typical warm, which means oxide red, and a little bit of Indian yellow. This color is so much richer. Now let me explain a little bit, since I'm waxing euphoric on you. Why is it prettier, so to speak? Again, please understand, if you have a master's in fine arts and you call my paintings pretty, understand that I might punch you, because I know I've been insulted. But I can call them pretty. That's a different matter. I really am kidding about the punching part. Besides, who would want to? I would hurt my hand more than I'd hurt your face, probably. At age 66, ladies and gentlemen, most of your punching days are over. Darn it, went my whole life and never punched anybody. Hardly. Too late now. Oh. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about what's happening. Why am I waxing euphoric when I put on these transparent colors? All right, because there's a broader principle at work, and I usually state it this corny way. It is, ain't a color made that don't look better with something else on top of it. In other words, ain't a color made that don't look better with something transparent on top of it. Now, some of you traditional oil painters, one of these days you're going to actually figure out why I keep saying this, and you're going to start believing me, and you're going to stop. I'm going to be, hang on, brace, put your seatbelt on. I'm going to be quite abrasive and offensive for a minute. Okay, so I warned you. One of these days, some of you guys that are painters, you're going to wake up and stop doing these crappy paintings that you're doing that are finished in opaque colors. Whew, sorry. Okay, that was really mean and nasty. I'm saying it for your own good. One of these days, you're going to wake up and say, doggone. See, because I think some of you are saying, oh, well, that's what you think. You like transparent colors. No, the human eye, all human eyes. No, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do some opaque. Of course you should. But the fact is, ain't a color made that don't look better with something else on top of it. That's the truth. So you should finish your paintings with mostly transparent colors. There's a reason that you weren't taught that way, okay? It's because you were influenced, you don't know it. It's because you were deeply influenced by Clement Greenberg and somebody else, Rosenberg. The Bergs took over in the middle of the 20th century. And you were taught, you were browbeat. You don't know this. And probably because even your teacher didn't know it. The person who taught you didn't even know why. Your teachers, plural, who did all of their paintings with opaque, straight out of the tube paints, didn't even realize why they were painting straight out of the tube. The reason is because they were trying to indicate that the canvas is flat. That is a mantra. The canvas is flat. That was like a war cry. It was like a battle cry in the art establishment in the middle of the 20th century. Okay, the canvas is flat. You didn't know it was a war. I'm telling you now, it was. It was a war. And they were trying, and I actually agree with them quite strongly. Now, I don't mean that the canvas is flat. I agree with the concept that we should be thinking, painting, while we're painting, we should be thinking about flatness of canvas. That correlates to my language. Here's the Dan Nelson correlative of that statement. It is, we're painting paintings, not pictures. And forgive me, I always mispronounce the word picture on purpose just to be ornery. So we're not painting pictures. The first half of your art journey, you paint pictures. Second half of your art journey, not everybody makes it. Second half, that's all right. I understand. Nobody put me in charge of anybody. But the second half of your art journey, you're painting stuff that looks like paint. So that's parallels Clement Greenberg and company. That parallels their battle cry. The canvas is flat. In a sense, what they were saying is, stop painting pictures. Paint paintings. Now do you understand when I say I actually agree with them quite strongly? Okay, but I believe Western, so I have no idea what's going on in the East. Make no claims to understand Eastern art, Eastern painting, so make no reference to it. In the Western world, though, I believe that we, never paint with your fingers, I believe that we, collectively, have learned the lesson. Don't paint pictures, normally pronounced pictures for you English second language people. Pictures is correct. Pitchers is what you pour water out of. And I mispronounce it just to be ornery. So don't stop painting pictures and paint paintings. All right, so that's in a sense what was meant. But now I claim that we have learned that the canvas is flat, and we are in fact now painting paintings instead of pictures. Okay, no matter what we're painting. In my case, even if it is a picture, ostensibly, of the main street in my city, Fayetteville Street, which is what I've painted more than anything else. Even if it's a picture of Fayetteville Street, it's not really, that's not what it's about. It's about line, shape, color, design, value, texture. All right, so I contend that the artists of the West have in fact learned their hard lesson that we're not painting pictures, we're painting paintings. Having done so, having reached this lofty pinnacle of understanding, we are now free to go back to the magic of transparency. Transparent painting went radically out of vogue. I mean, to Clement Greenberg, if you use transparent colors, you were a traitor to the cause. You should be set up against the wall of the art department and shot. All right? And because you shouldn't use, because see, transparent paint was one of the main magical tools of the old art world to convey depth. Are you with me? I don't usually go this deep into it, but I am today. So that's why 99.9% of the people that have learned to paint in the last 100 years have been taught to paint straight out of the tube, opaque. And what they don't realize is that for the 1,000 years before them, transparent painting was the way to go. All right. All right, that looks nice. Did I show you the back of this one? I don't remember. Here it is again. All right, so that's the back number 11. If you buy one painting, you get two. I don't know if it's a good idea or bad. Might end up being a really bad idea. If so, this will be the last time I do it. Number 12. And by the way, I'm not going to force myself to broadcast today all 12 paintings. Obviously, the broadcast just goes on forever. Number 10, Radina, good. Wait till I put up the, if you want, wait till I put up the final image and you could place a bid at that time. All right, this one I am not going to warm up. I like it cool and purple. The only problem is I don't really have a purple brush, do I? I'm gonna have to use a smaller brush. It's gonna take a while. I don't want to do straight up purple. I want to do ultramarine purple. Well, how would it look if I left it like that? I think it looks terrible. I might be wrong. I don't believe I don't believe those are pleasant marks. How about you? Oh, I could add one more issue to the glaze. Why do glazes? Because at least when you use liquid, and the glaze is transparent. Not transparent. That's not what I meant. Back to tape. When you use liquid, the glaze is glossy, shiny, and shiny means that the colors on the painting are more vibrant. That's why I varnish almost all my paintings with gloss varnish, because I like more color, not less. So there we go. There's one more thing that this glaze also by the way, makes makes the paintings considerably more difficult to photograph. I've done broadcasts in the past about how to photograph paintings. It's been a while. You should be able to find one of those if you just go to my channel and do a search inside my channel for photographing, maybe shooting. I don't know. I hope it's called photographing your paintings. I do it in my garage. That's part of the secret. With all the lights in my garage turned off and an easel set up in the door, the bay door of the garage, so that the painting is facing into the dark garage, but all the light on the painting is coming from the circumference. That's the key to photographing a shiny flat object. The light has to be very oblique, very much from the sides. Did you catch that? Hope so. All right, so I just did blue purple over the entire canvas. Before I start wiping stuff out, let me see what I want to add to that. At the moment, I think I just want to add more darker stuff in some areas, in the dark areas. Hang on a second. I'm going to pick up a brush that has brownish red in it. So I am introducing a bit of color to the painting that wasn't there. Dirty brownish red here in the corners, and the effect is mostly I'm killing color. I just want a little bit more. Now, having said that, let's be clear. Please, some of you perhaps might be confused. Muddy color, mud has nothing whatsoever to do with color. Mudness has nothing to do with color. If you want a full description of what I believe mud is, then simply go to my, do a search on my YouTube channel for mud, Dan Nelson Mud. They've got an 11-minute video where I demonstrate, I think, quite clearly what mud is. Now, there's quite a bit of confusion, I discover, in the art world about mud, and I take it that that's because different teachers teach different things, and bless their hearts, those teachers are just gravely mistaken, some of them. Some of you have learned, let me shoot down a couple sacred cows. Number one of my favorite painters in the world, Richard Schmid, is wrong about mud. I wish he wasn't, because he's one of my favorite painters. But he says it's a matter of color temperature. I don't know what to say about that, other than that he's just wrong. Of course you can abuse and get color temperatures wrong. Right, you can get them wrong, which is his point. But anyway, that's all. I'm just not going to pick a fight with Richard Schmid. Nobody will believe me anyway, but just understand that I think he's wrong. And I love him. Not him. I love his artwork. Don't know if I love him or not. Never met him. Seen him on video. Seems like kind of a nice, crotchety old guy. Take that any way you want. All right. I think it might be time for doing all different shades of blue. Then here's another. Some people think that mud is sort of a consequence of too much alla prima painting. That is to say, painting all at once, painting wet on wet and wet and wet, and getting thick piles of paint that you can't mix anymore. And I can hold my mouth in a funny position and go, okay, I guess that's mud. Why not? Because it's muddy. And they're referring primarily to the, like, too much paint, too much wet paint. All right. What's wrong with that definition? Well, nothing. But the solution, see, the kind of mud I care about, and which has to do with my definition, is mystery mud. Okay, now listen to me. Here's why it's important to know what mud is. It only matters if you're experiencing the kind of mud where you can't tell what's wrong. Why doesn't this color look right? And it's not. The paint's too thick, and it's not a misuse of color temperature, but it looks muddy. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what that's the kind of mud I care about. Okay, I care about avoiding, and in that case, it's a misuse of opacity. All right, and that you can go to my video and watch again, full description. But again, you might say, no, that's not what mud is. Mud is when you have too much paint on the canvas. Well, that's not a mystery. All you do is, I'm going to be like an old Bob Newhart episode where he said his psychological counseling was when people would tell him their problem, and he would say, stop it. So that's what I say about the thick paint problem. That's easy. Don't do it. There, done, problem solved. So that kind of mud is easily dealt with. Just don't get big piles of wet paint on your canvas. I'm being a little facetious, as you can tell. All right, my hands are awfully sticky, and it's irritating me. So I think I'm going to end this broadcast right here. Here's the back side of number 12. Ooh, so if you buy this painting, you get a painting for Halloween on one side, and you get a painting for Easter on the other. All right. I'm going to end this broadcast right here and go wash my hands. I'm going to finish the next 8. Plus, rain is getting a little bit scary looking. And I don't know if I'm going to do another broadcast today or not. Oh, I am not. It's time to go. My wife and I are having an afternoon together. That's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. I enjoyed having you here. I look forward to talking to you soon. Probably Monday will be the next time I'll do it. So this whole process is getting stretched out. Who saw that coming? I did. I just didn't admit it early on. All right. I'm really liking my paintings. So, and with just a little tiny bit of touches of dark and light in oil, they'll just be to die for, quote unquote. Don't really though. Don't die for them. No dying allowed on behalf of my paintings. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.